So your quick 2019 refresher. So just some of the objectives. We'll look at last year's summary. We'll look at the seasonal outlook for this year. We'll talk about situational awareness. We'll show a video of the mud fire shelter deployment that was back in like 2008 or 9, I forget the year. And then we'll go over regular fire shelters. So more of the objectives. This will meet your RT 130 refresher. You'll get to go out and do some stuff. We'll go over entrapment avoidance. Some current issues. I got a little laundry list. I just went to the team meetings in Reno last week. And some other hazards out there. So 2018, how did everybody's fire season go?
Non-existent.
Okay. Sucks to be you, Mike. No one went out.
Really?
Just the fire season itself was good. It was just for us. It sucked for our guys because we were so short-staffed.
What obstacles do you see for this year, and how do you plan on overcoming them? Chief?
Well, specifically, we're going to be able to go out this year, so that's good. So we'll overcome that obstacle. Second to that, we're going to need to be ready because literally we kind of had a year up. We only had one local fire, which was the Jack Valley, that had any substance to it, and there's some big stuff going on, and there's still we're going to see a lot of nasty conditions, so we just got to be prepared and ready for the coming year.
Yeah, I think since we've had another wet year, a lot of light flashy fuels, fast moving fires probably just because of that.
So right now there's already 20 large fires across the U.S. They're mostly down in the southern area, like Oklahoma. They're all around 2,000 acres, which isn't that big, but down there those are big fires, right? Arizona's had a couple big ones already. I think they had a 10,000 acre fire already this year, but they caught it pretty quick because the fuels aren't quite dried out down there yet. Predictive Services says we should have an average fire season. So those are we got the weather guessers, and then we got the guessers on what the season's actually going to be like as far as fires. They say average. What that means is anybody's guess. Take what you get, bros. Talk about situational awareness. What is it? Elsie?
Knowing what you're seeing is doing it at all times, and being aware of what's around your surroundings.
Okay. Anybody else?
Being heads up.
Being heads up.
Just being aware of the changing environment. It's always going to be changing. It's always going to be dynamic. So having your head on a swivel.
Right. Head on a swivel. We're constantly evaluating and reevaluating. And if we see something that we need to change it, right? So that's having good situational awareness. And you'll also hear people describe it as SA, and it's not like ole pato SA, it's SA, okay? So that's something you need to think about.
You could say that he's Mexican.
I am half-breed Mexican. We have one full Mexican in the room between Troy and myself. How can some of the situational awareness traps be avoided? So what's a big trap that distracts us daily as far as our situational awareness?
Our cell phones.
Our phones, constantly, right? They're a big thing in the modern wildland firefighting now. The technology is driving everything that we do out there. I have some information on that. You know, Avenza is a great tool, and it is a great tool for all of us on the line to help keep good situational awareness, because you can get maps, you can see where you are on the map, but it shouldn't be your focus during the day. The other thing is social media, and since Nick stepped out of the room, we don't need to be taking photos and instantly posting it on Facebook of a giant column in the background. bad things happen when people do that. One, you're not paying attention. Two, it can be used in litigation later. So that's just something to think about. How does group interaction and communication help you think critically about a situation you are faced with?
You got different eyes looking at
Yeah,
it.
the vantage
Just
point.
because they're all looking at the same thing doesn't mean that you're not gonna see something different than I see.
Right.
And you know, same with Jared or anyone in here. Just because we're all looking at the scene, you're gonna see something, I'm gonna see something, you put it all together, and then that essay just jumps up.
Right, put it all together. The other thing, as leaders, we should all be willing to listen to one another. So from the chief level, he should listen to maybe something that McDonald has to say because he's got some years as a wildland firefighter. So he might have some good inputs. Hey, I'm not comfortable with doing this, or hey, have you thought about this, or hey, look at that column, the way it's laying over. You know, things like that. So that's just gathering more good situational awareness. We talked about that. How can you be ready to adapt a plan when you're faced with a changing situation?
Contingencies.
Yeah, have contingencies, having backup plans, setting trigger points. So trigger points are taking those tactical pauses to maybe just reevaluate. Hey, we've been putting in this hose lay now for the last hour and we're 10,000 feet into it. Are we really buying anything with this? If we're not, maybe we should drop back and decide we're going to hold it on the road instead. So being able to do that and adjusting as you go. It's kind of like risk management. We're all risk managers and we can see something that's going to get somebody hurt. But if you don't say something about it and if you don't change that thing, it's a waste of time. So what's LCES, you guys?
Communications, escape routes, safe zones.
Who's responsible for your LCES briefing?
We all are.
All of us, right? Who should we maybe assign as a lookout?
Most experienced.
Somebody with experience, right? But we're also, if we're all on just a crew, we're all lookouts. Till we kind of designate somebody. What's our primary tactical channel for wildland fires within the fire district?
V23.
22.
22? Usually 22 or whatever dispatch tells us. Not silver. Which member is your escape route based on?
Nick.
Or Santos, right?
And typically the captains, because those
Right.
are
We're the slowest. It is what it is.
That's a race. Sounds like a race after class.
How do we mark our escape routes?
Flagging.
Flagging,
Make it known.
the landmark, make it
Discuss it.
known. What's another big thing about escape routes?
You can
Or
change.
stay in safety zones?
You can change at any moment.
It might change
And those
any
skating
time.
nighttime, so you can mark those things with the glow sticks. One of the problems we've had before is the wrong safety route was actually marked, and guys failed to catch it, and they caught the second time around, so make sure, like Captain Conley was saying, make sure that right safety or escape route is known, and it's known to everybody. If there's a change made, that change has to be sent out across the board so everybody knows.
What's really our best escape route and best safety zone?
To the black.
Into the black. One step into the black is a good spot. How big should your safety zone be?
It's kind of field dependent.
True, but what's the easiest way to do it?
2.5.
4.5 times the flame length. And there's actually a formula. I don't remember what it is. It takes the number of people and the number of equipment and flame lengths and divide it and pi r squared to get this thing.
For us, it's 4 times,
It's
and
in
you
the-
guys 4 times.
it's in the IRPG.
It is actually in the IRPG.
Yeah, the ones for like base camp, they'll calculate all that in there for that true safety zone size.
So something new this year we're trying to get out is we're not calling it structure protection, it's structure defense. And why, you guys, do you think that that has come about?
So, let me say, go ahead. Let me say.
Go ahead, Rayford.
For liability's sake.
Liability's sake, because what does protection say?
They were gonna stop it.
We're going to protect their residents, right? And sometimes we don't do that. So we're defending their residents. So that's a big thing. Pretty much all came from California Region 5 stuff, because they're trying to do structure protection and they're burning thousands of houses. Chief, on the Thomas fire, how many homes?
1,100?
1,100 houses?
Yeah.
Or structures?
Structures, yeah.
I think the Paradise Fire beat that, right?
I think so.
That was 1,600 structures.
Yeah.
That's a lot of homes in people's property. So we'll quickly go over the structure triage categories. So here's a good example of what not threatened is. There's TRAs present, construction features and defensible space make it unlikely that the structure will ignite during the initial fire impact. So that's a good picture of one right there. Threatened but defendable. TRAs are present, construction and lack of defensible space. There might be some other challenges, but we might be able to do it.
What's TRA?
Anyone?
A temporary refuge area?
Good.
Yeah,
Temporary
refuge.
refuge.
Where can that be?
Side structure,
And
Areas.
Where else? What side of the structure?
the leeward.
Leeward?
So go back one pic there, Trace. See that there looks a little sketchy to me, that they're up on what looks like kind of a hill.
Mid slope?
Yeah, mid-slope to something, so whatever's below them, that's probably not a good place for
And
them.
that's the bad thing about close-up pictures, is that you don't see that whole big picture.
You don't,
It's
but-
actually steep, but it's,
So that's something to have some good, essay about, and just, if you're sitting on top of a
Well,
chimney or.
It looks mid-slope with unburned fuel below. That's
Yeah,
the key right
and that's the
there.
sketchy part.
And as Arnie said, there could be a road right below them that
Yeah, street.
they're in good shape and maybe that's a burn that they're doing. You got the tanker prepping shit behind the house. So threat non-defensible. There's no TRAs present. Structure has challenges, could be bad access. And we don't have enough time to prep it. We don't have enough resources to help defend it. So some factors when doing your structure triage, what the fire behavior is. You know, they had the Martin fire in Nevada last year. It went over 300,000 acres, I believe, in about a 3 or 4 day burn period, burn cycles. So it was averaging like 15,000 acres a day, or 10 to 15,000 acres an hour is how fast it was burning out
that was our
there.
biggest factor. Nevada had the
That was the
fire.
biggest one in Nevada, I think in the
I
US.
think it was US last year, Nevada had.
Kind of the skills and ability of your crew. Other assets, the risk versus gain. Maybe the structure's ability to withstand fire on its own. And then we'll go over some of the other categories here in a minute. So some of the tactics now. Check and go, prep and defend. Secondary tactical actions, fire front following, bump and run, anchor and hold. Connecting the dots is kind of like bump and run. And then the tactical patrol, that's after everything's all done. We still want to go back in and make sure nothing flares up. So check and go, this might be where the chief goes in and he checks a bunch of homes real quick in his fire SUV. He can get in and out of stuff real fast. He can take a look at things and say, hey, we got 4 houses are defendable, one's undefendable, one we can maybe prep it and make it defendable. So just remember the fire behavior and time, you know, is gonna really dictate what we can do with some of these residents. Hopefully they've planned ahead. It's not our responsibility for their defensible space. That kind of falls back onto the homeowner. If you go to a large incident, maybe at the Thomas's fire, I don't know, they kind of, the residents want us or the management team or whoever to go in and make their house defendable, but you haven't done anything for 25 years of living there, and now all of a sudden it's our responsibility. Well, even those fires don't have the resources to do that. So it's kind of a balance game, and that's what the bigwigs and the teams get to deal with.
So that's a good point, to not get trapped by the dynamics of your customers and maybe how affluent they might be. That was a big thing at the Thomas Fire because up in Ojai is a big high dollar LA outpost, if you will. And the expectations were quite a bit different for what we were actually going to do than what these people thought we were going to do when we rolled in. So just understand that. Don't get tricked by it.
So here's kind of an illustration of check and go. You know, we're going to quickly assess it, see if we can do anything, but more than likely, we're going to real quick decide if it's defendable or non-defendable, and then we're going to keep going, keep moving down the road. So prep and go, some preparation we can do in a reasonable amount of time. We got enough resources. But maybe there's no TRAs or safety zones present, so we'll real quick size up the structure, prep a little bit, and then we're going to bump back down to the next structure. So that'd be prep and go. So here's another kind of illustration of that. It's kind of hard to see, but it talks about, you know, removing flammables away from right next to the house, maybe clearing a wood pile away from the house, things like that. A fence, hard to say. So prep and defend, I think this is what most civilians think that we're going to do every time. We have, you know, safety zones and escape routes are there. There's TRAs there. There's plenty of time to prep the structure, and we can stay there once the fire impacts it. So here's kind of an illustration of that. You know, like eyebrowing it with the dozer. They're putting retardant down behind it. We're going to move vegetation. We're going to do all sorts of things to prep that structure. And then we're going to stay there as the fire front comes and herd the fire around the structure. Does everybody understand what the term herding the fire? Kind of push the fire around, let it keep going. Fire front following, this is in some of these extreme fire behavior cases, this is actually the best thing to do. It's a tactic we can use after the fire front passes through, and it's safe for us to go back in, or maybe even a little sketchy going back in, but we're going to go in and try to check on those properties. It's used typically under extreme fire conditions, and when you have kind of limited resources. We did it up on the Perry fire last year. And fire came into about 8 houses. The fire behavior was too much to keep anybody in there. So I was able to drive in and take a quick peek as all hell was breaking loose. And actually had a Sparks engine come in, fire front following. And they saved the house, lost the shed, and the homeowner was pissed off that we lost the shed. Like, she was irate. Like, unbelievable. I could not believe it. So as in this illustration, you can see where the fire blew through there. We got a house, you know, quarter involved, probably a bit of a write-off, but other spots around the other residents, we can go in and pick up the pieces. Does that tactic make sense to everybody? So bump and run, kind of what was done up on the James Loop fire.
Yeah, we ended up doing that too when the aircraft went down years ago. The flame front of that, the main cell calls, and the water all those structures, you have water there, yeah.
So basically just bumping from structure to structure, doing what you can. Just bump and run. It's kind of fast, that's why we do that structure protection or structure defense drill, or we stretch our lines and then we bring everything back in and move down to the next structure. So here's kind of another illustration of that. It's just basically moving from building to building, doing what you can do. So anchor and hold, there's some classic video from some of the fires in Southern California over the last couple years. More common in the neighborhoods and commercial areas where they connect the hydrants at your anchor and you're flowing master streams defending all these buildings. Something we would probably typically never do here or even anywhere else.
We
But
had one crew do it, and that was Costa's crew on the Collin Ranch fire when they pulled up. They pulled up and he got right into that anchor and hold road.
But they were fighting structure fires. They weren't like fighting wildland.
Yeah, that's what actually a structure protection is.
It's kind of a different tactic. Like I said, there's options for it, but I wouldn't suggest it every time.
And it's just-
You see backing in, flowing big water, protection, trying to protect or defend multiple buildings at the same time using an established water system.
And one of the things to remember about that water system is, you know, that if you're using that hydrant on one part of that system and down the line, you got a bunch of engines, you gotta think about that water supply by the time it gets down there too, if you're gonna use this tactic.
So tactical patrol on, this says, you know, many incidents, 50 to 80% of the structures lost occur well after the fire front follows or goes through the buildings. So we still have to go back in there and mop everything up. I've seen it happen a couple times on an assignment I went on a couple years ago when we went over to Napa. You know, we were going in a day later into neighborhoods and there was still active flame all around these homes and nobody was doing anything. We're like, we gotta do work now. We actually have to do stuff because there's all this fire still around all these homes. We have to do it. You can't just sit in your brush truck for 12 hours. So for your red cards, I'm not sure why this is in there, Nick, but
That's just
kind of left over. So you're getting your red card. Does everybody have their red cards yet? Have we gotten them?
I don't know.
Yeah, Fraser was working on that.
Working on it.
So you'll get your updated red cards. It might be a two-part process where you get it and check it, and you see you're not an IC type 1, and you want that taken off the red card.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is that he wants everybody to check, and we do catch things on those red cards. That, mainly it's stuff that needs to be added rather than taken off, but double check your red card once you do get it.
And for you new guys, make sure that you respond to Fraser's email and get what search you have. He'll decide what he's going red card versus not, so make sure you get all that to Fraser.
So some things we'll work on too is just donning your Wildland PPE. I would suggest to everybody to wear the dual compliant pants during the summer. They're super comfy, and then all you need is your brush jacket. Just cuts down some time. You'll work on your shelter deployments, then you'll get a chance to do your mobile attacks, crescent pose lays, some good structure defense evolutions, and then repacking the NAS packs can be challenging for some, but it's just a good skill to get. especially if you go out on fires and you want to pick up real quick. Those packs are awesome to repack and get back in service real fast.
We have 2 videos on that now
So it's really, really good one. So that's the end of that. Some trends for 2019, just the outlook, I kind of covered that. They're kind of expecting an average fire season. Another thing you're going to see more this year is the use of unmanned aircraft, and not the kind of aircraft Captain Agarossis has, but the large fixed wing drones. Not quite the Predator style, they're smaller.
It's a company in Reno that actually.
There's 4 or 5 vendors that were put on contract this year. The thing to be a vendor is they have to be able to produce a product that's usable. So there's been some vendors out there that could make products, but they weren't usable. They didn't integrate with GIS. So now to get those contracts, they have to be able to integrate with GIS stuff and the mapping that the fire, the teams make. They can use it for IR flights, they can use it for mapping, and then they all have to be able to do live broadcasts. So if we're out on an incident or Troy's a strike team leader, he can get a login given to him for their specific site, and he can watch live video from the drones. It's pretty cool stuff. It's really cool stuff. There's another trend, some have probably heard of it, take 10 at 2. So for new guys, what time of day have most fatality fires been at? Occurred?
12 to 2.
12 to 2, what else? Anybody else? Better guess?
Mid-afternoon.
Mid-afternoon?
And that way.
1400 to 1700. So you'll see a push now where we're going to disengage crews around 1400. Not that we're saying, hike back to your vehicles. You just disengage a little bit, kind of like a tactical pause, and watch your situation. Maybe just improve the line you've already put in. But just to take a break and be heads up instead of always task focused looking down. Because they're saying that will help, reduce some of the fatality stuff. So don't be surprised if you get briefings from divisions, strike team leaders, ops briefings in the mornings where they're like, hey, we're taking a break at 2 o'clock today. And you're not documenting it on your time or anything, you're just taking a half-hour break. So that's coming out. With that, burn periods are actually changing to be later in the days now, just with the fuel. So use 1400 as kind of your benchmark time, but some fire, their burn periods are starting at like 1800, and they're basically burning until about 10 o'clock at night. So just be aware of that, something to think about. Briefings from our inter-crew briefings to big team briefings, make sure you get a good briefing. And if you have questions on the briefing, speak up and say something. So new guys, where is a briefing checklist at? Back of the RPG. It's not a bad idea to just follow it, and if they skip something, hey, you skip communication. You skipped, something. Just say something though. It's not a big deal. They're not going to care about, saying it again. CTRs, we'll kind of go over those, how to fill them out. They're not a big deal. IAPs, we'll go over this IAP. This one's kind of a big one, but I bet the Thomas Fire IAP was 3 times as big as this. This one's like 30 pages.
Yeah, 31 pages.
And this is a small one on a type 2 incident. Avenza, I would suggest everybody get Avenza on your phones. It's a great tool. It works on OIS, Apple and Android. It's just a good tool for your situational awareness to get a map.
Scan those maps and run briefings.
Aircraft, something you're gonna see a lot more of is air supervision module. So there's air attack, right? So they're in charge of all the air resources. They're an air division supervisor, basically. But if you get an air supervision module, that can be the lead plane. So the lead planes that bring in the heavies, his spotter is also qualified as an air attack. So a lot of times when the air attacks will rotate out because of time, that lead plane can take over the aerial supervision. So you might hear them called something a little bit different, air tactical group supervisors. You know, just so you know that it's not always gonna be the same voice on your air attack, it might be somebody else. They're gonna use it more because they're running out of air attacks. There's not enough qualified air attacks out there.
Real quick on CTRs, are we doing equipment tickets? Because some fires are saying yes and others are saying no.
We were told.
So
we were told
we've always been told not to, because we come as a whole thing. So if you go to a Forest Service incident, you should not have to do an equipment ticket. Just your time. We bill for time,
Right.
not the equipment. If we send, in our contracts, if we send the engine, it's already incorporated into the hourly rate.
Time by rank.
We've had our admin on those type of fires where we don't need to ask what they are, is why I'm asking. So there's been a little confusion, okay, well, fire, we didn't need them, but you guys want them, or whatever.
We were told Tracy to fill them out on our crew because like I said, the last one was OES, but at the end, they wanted all that turned in, so.
And we need to get clarification then,
Yeah.
because our contracts that we hand in when you check in,
Right.
it's all spelled out in there. We're not a contractor, we're a local government contractor, so therefore, all they need is our time. But that's something
The
to,
difference might be if you went out as a single engine and not as part of a task force.
Right.
And then you got assigned to a task force when you got to the incident. That may be a time, but short of that, if you go with a task force or a strike team, single person overhead, all those things don't require a shift ticket for billing.
The only
Not
other
for
good thing
equipment.
about it is for engineers, it's good record of them keeping track of it.
LOS is just one form. For
yeah,
everything.
OES, we don't even do a CTR.
Nope.
So I'll shoot Fogerson an email and he can explain it, but usually we don't have to do an equipment shift ticket, just your CTR.
But nonetheless, if for whatever reason it's a weird agreement, know your agreement on your resource order.
Right, right.
And
Required hours.
check that agreement and make sure if you gotta call ahead, call back to the office, whatever, hey, what's this agreement say, what do we need? So, good point to just clarify.
And the team might say, well, we want, the finance people might say, well, we want an equipment shift ticket, and say, well, I need equipment booked in.
And you know what?
And just do it and play along. I really don't think we bill them.
To clarify on ours, Trace, when they asked for it, we did get sent up as a single resource too. So maybe that's why they asked for it,
Yeah.
I'm not sure, so.
Every team's gonna be different too.
Yeah.
And I'll go back over CTRs. So, another thing with aircraft, they're trying to switch some stuff this year. You might see it, we might even see it locally. So, usually to talk from the ground to air attack would be on air to ground primary. They want to switch that now to air to ground command. And air to ground secondary, what we might talk to a helicopter for doing bucket work, is air to ground secondary. Now they want to call that air to ground tactical. So just be aware that you might hear that, and that's all that means. The aviation people aren't big into the command thing because it's too much like the command frequency on the incident.
Yeah.
So they're like, that will be very confusing. The other thing you'll hear more of, I know most everybody's been exposed to it, are helcos. You guys know what helcos are? So Air Attack manages all of the air resources, and now they have helicopter managers. So they're helcos, helicopter coordinators. They work for Air Attack managing just the helicopters. Because air attack on some of these large incidents, it's almost too much for them to manage the rotor wing and the fixed wing assets. So they put in another layer of supervision. So they're called Helcos. So if you're working on the ground as a strike team leader, a task force leader, or even an engine crew, and you want a helicopter to do something for you, pay attention, you might be calling the Helco to get something sent over to you. That's frequency stuff. That's kind of all I got for that. You want to go over the IAP real quick, just so everybody can see one? Okay. I gotta switch this. So, so type 3, type 2, and type 1 incidents are mandated to have IAPs for every operational period. If there's a night shift, they have to do another IAP unless they do a combined day-night IAP. So a couple things to note on the cover. One, it tells you what the shift is going to be, 06 to 2000. The ID, SF, and then the number. That's who's responsible for the incident. So this is Idaho Salmon Chalice National Forest, and that's the incident number for the forest. So that's the responsible party. Okay, you gotta put that on your CTR. If for some reason you forgot that, make sure you get the P number, because that's the financial code, and that's how we get paid. So the P4L2JU, that's the financial code. That's super important. What are the next 4 boxes? Maps, QR codes. So that'll basically send you to a Dropbox for the incident so you can get those specific maps. And then you can save them into your Avenza. Next down you'll see the GPS, so the NAD 83 or the WGS 84. For the guys maybe with the handheld GPSs, this is a setting within those GPSs. And that's what the situation units are using for data. That's the format we want to call it out, the next line down, decimal minutes, right? This talks about collector and some other stuff. Not really that important though. So the 202, that's your incident objectives. This is good for you guys to look through. Kind of, this one's the course of action. Gets a little hug me with the core values, the major incident objectives, and then what the desired end state is. So the desired end state drives what the objectives are, how we're going to get there, the how we're going to do it. The next sheet's the 203, that's the organizational list. So who the IC is, who the safety guys are, agency administrators, that's who we're kind of all working for, the plan section, the logistics section, the operations section, air ops, and then finance. So make friends with finance, that's important, them and the food guy. So on OES fire assignments, dealing with supply, and Troy, you can correct me if I'm completely off base, they want one person, one point of contact from each strike team to deal with supply. So they will do the order for the entire strike team. One person or one crew. Brush 10, that's all. Your job is logistics, you get supply stuff. If Rush 2 decides to go walk up there and say we're part of such and such a strike team, they're like, yeah, so what? We want to talk to Rush 10. And they get that way. They're like kind of asked about it.
You have to sign them up, literally.
You literally sign up who's going to be your.
Typically one in addition to your strike team.
On a regular incident that's not OES, you can go as individuals to supply and swap out Nomex pants if your pants are super dirty. It's a give one, they take one, give one. Okay? It's a one-for-one trade. But they're not gonna hassle you really. Unless you're a contractor. Contractors get nothing from fire camps. They can't even replace a shovel, even if they walk up with a shovel with 2 pieces. They can, but it'll be deducted from their payment. So the next page is the weather forecast. And this is just the format that this team uses. So regular fire weather forecast specific to the incident. They'll bring in an incident meteorologist and he'll collect data, put up raw sites, and come up with his own weather guessing sheet. And then the fire behavior forecast, that's how fire will act on any particular area or division within the fire. And it'll tell you, like, the top line divisions, Alpha and Bravo, very minimal heat has been seen along the perimeter in recent days. No growth is expected. So that's, they get into the weeds that far on what they think the fire will do on any given division. And then the 204s are next. The divisional assignment. First page only has one engine crew and a boss with a trainee. Talks about what the control objectives are for that work period, and then special instructions, maybe using a fish screen if you're drafting out of a river or creek, maybe staying off a certain road. There's all sorts of little special instructions. So, consult or read before doing any work that could impact cattle or other species in the area. So the reads are the resource advisors. They're usually like the forest biologist or archaeologist, or they really love plants and animals. So more divisional 204s. And again, this is just all for your information.
You notice all these say use mist tactics when possible?
Everybody know what mist tactics are? Minimal impact suppression tactics, so light hand on the land stuff. And this isn't even, this fire was not even in a wilderness area, and they still wanted that type of tactic used. So you usually see that more in the wilderness areas.
The mic never goes there.
No mechanical tools of any kind. Yeah. Even to the point in the wilderness, they only use chainsaws.
Yeah. All Mexican shovels.
It's real work, Wildland.
And walking.
So we had a structured group, kind of lays out all the resources. Bottom of the 204s should have all your frequencies of what your specific division, tactical and command frequencies might be, what channels. What's next? So this was kind of interesting, and you'll see it more on the larger incidents. So while active firefighting is going on, at the heel of the fire, they're already starting suppression repair. So you might be still fighting fire out front or on the flanks, but they're already starting to fix what we break on the backside. And it's super popular now. And that's part of the desired end state that the agency administrators give. So here's a number for you for every, I think it's 6 hours of fire suppression. There's 16 hours of suppression repair.
We got to sign restoration on one of our plans, because they were actually going in and restoring the pot farmers where they ruined their streams going through because of the stuff we did. They were restoring all the streams for the pot farmers over there. Whether it be legal or illegal.
So if van lines put in, it's gotta be repaired. That's pulling, you go in and put in a bunch of, scratching a bunch of hand line, miles of it. You gotta fix it all back to the way it was before you leave. Dozer line, 4 blades wide, you gotta pull in all the berms, put in water bars.
Yeah.
Usually it's done with the heavy
Wood
equipment.
chippers.
Chip in,
You could be running a wood chipper.
Yeah, we do.
Been there.
So just so you know, air off summary. No big deal. Just talks about all the aircraft that are assigned to the incident. Then you'll get a safety message that comes from the safeties. Just stuff to look out for. You know, some risks out there on this one, driving UTVs, chainsaws, heavy equipment operations, air ops. Watch for snags, this was all in lodge poles, so that's all nasty stuff. Rolling materials, steep slopes, it's just something that your crew boss or your captain should go over with you, just some stuff to look out for today. The 205 is the radio, the combo summary. It'll tell you what frequencies are and what channels are being used for what. Then the next one's the IR response, or the initial attack responsibilities for the team that's assigned. So a lot of times the team will take over the initial attack responsibility for any new fires under the, what do you call it? The TFR, the temporary flight restrictions for aircraft. So it's just a way to kind of help mitigate, help the forest or whoever you're running the fire for. So it kind of spells out what they're going to do. So if you're assigned to a division, you could be tasked with IA also. You might just be singled out. You're still doing your work during the day, but if they get an IA response, they'll ask you to leave and go help out with the IA. It's still managed through the incident. You're just another resource. So here's the resource advisor message on this one. So, like I said, these people really like plants and animals. And they will actually hinder suppression tactics because of plants and animals. And they're really concerned about weeds. I don't know why.
Well, like that, it says, feel free to pull them, put them in the garbage bag and dispose of them.
Right?
That's exactly what I want to do.
Then it talks a little bit about some of the fish up in this particular area. Then it gets into the demob list that nobody wants to be on. So this is just kind of a 3-day schedule of people getting demoed. But the best fire out there is what?
Fire your own.
Fire your own, right. So who cares? Here's some incident replacement guidelines. So this more has to do with those contract resources. So if they fill out a 213 general message form and say, you know, hey, we need a new chain and a new bar for our chainsaw, they give you all the specifics. It has to say at the bottom of their list that, you know, contractor understands costs will be deducted from payment. This should be standardized this year within the Great Basin anyways. It's a line supply order list, so they'll all be the same. So one thing you can do if you're like an engine company, engine crew, let's say you need number 18, 2-cycle oil quarts. Put a 4 by that, fill in the top part, and hand it to your division or your strike team task force leader, and they can get that for you. What makes it real easy was when you're the division and you have a whole laundry list of stuff, and it's got to be called in on the radio. You just say, Division so-and-so, blah, 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 I need it delivered here, this drop point. I need 14 number 1s, I need 2 number 7s, 4 number 23s, 4 number 46s, 4 number 50s. And then back in the backside, the radio people track it and then they give it to supply, and that's what you get. The back sheet of that one is the division hose lay kit, which is really cool. So when you order that, it's on the other side, it's like number 47. No, it's 49. If I order 2 of those, I get double of everything on that division hose lay kit. So it comes out as one little package, well, big package. So if you say I need 2 of them, you're going to get 2,000 feet an inch and a half, 2,000 feet an inch, so much peanut line, and then double all the hardware. So that's kind of a cool thing.
That's nice.
And that's supposed to be standard this year in the Great Basin.
Makes it easy.
Makes it super easy. Contact phone list for the team folks. And then this is real important for us. This is the IWI stuff. So this team puts it in the IAP. So incident within an incident. Kind of a procedure on how it's run in the field and how it's handled on the backside back at camp. So it's a real good format. It's super simple. So it's kind of like declaring a Mayday. You declare the medical emergency on the radio, then you follow these steps, and then back to ICP, here's all the things that they're doing back there to help you. So any of us could be involved in something like this, and just, you know, the biggest thing is just take care of our crew member first, our brother, and deal with all the other minutia later, honestly. I mean, they want you to do all this stuff, but take care of them, and then figure out the rest after the fact. There's discussion about, you know, when or when not do you request helicopter medevac, whether it be a landed evac, or a short haul mission, or a hoist mission. When are you going to do it? Whenever you think you want to do it. Like, there's no right or wrong with it. Just get your people taken care of is the big thing. We'll deal with all the other formalities after the fact.
So are we using the term Mayday or medical emergency?
Medical emergency out on a fire.
Okay.
On one of these fires. I think internally.
Local, it's Mayday.
Locally, it would be a Mayday, and it would kind of ramp up our own incident within an incident. But we don't really have, other than our Mayday policy, like, that's more for structure firefighting. We don't really have a clear, defined one for what we would do in a wildland scenario. The next one's the medical plan, and then the big one that all of us need to be aware of is the 206, or the MIR, the medical incident report. This is what they're going to want called back into the camp. And it kind of, it's the old 9 lines, but now it's an 8 line, but they don't want it called a 9 line or an 8 line, it's the medical incident report. So it kind of talks about nature of illness, how you're going to transport them, where they're at, naming the incident, who's the incident commander, initial patient assessment, quick set of vital stuff. So
mean, you guys might wanna just follow that, that's a good, good little thing to look at.
What your frequencies you're gonna be using, and so on.
The thing that the fires will ask, if it's a green medical patient and it's somebody who twisted their ankle getting out of the truck, you don't need to declare an incident within an instant. All you gotta do is get on the radio and say, hey, communications, this is brush whatever, on division whatever. Got a crew member twisted his ankle, we're gonna be driving him back into camp. Copy. That's all you gotta pass on. But now there could be green medical patients that have red category extractions, right? So maybe they do need to be flown out. So in that scenario, just because of the time lag of somehow getting somebody out, even if it's a very minor injury, you might activate an incident within an incident to get aircraft to come help you or another crew or something. And then the last sheet is the 214. You guys, you might be tasked by your captain to do this. They're pretty simple. The name of the incident, when you did it, if you're on a crew or an engine, that'd be the unit name, so like Rush 14. Who the boss is, Ron Santos. Operational period, you put day, you put the time. Some of the 214s actually have the time spot there. And then the 3 crew members, so Ron, ICS position is the engine boss. And then home base for us is what? What's our numerical designator? Or
Number
EFK, NVEFKX. So X means county. I don't know, somebody made that up. Para, you'd be engine operator, same thing. And then whoever the firefighter was, you put firefighter. And then the daily log, so it's just kind of the log book. 06 went to briefing. Make it specific events, not just every time you do something. Like every time you turn around. You know, 901, I saw a hawk. 903, I saw the hawk kill a rabbit. 906, I cried for 10 minutes. Like 06, I went to briefing. 08, we're on the line in division, laces are in place. 012 or 1200, had lunch. 1230, re-engaged. 1600, requested a helicopter for bucket work. 1900, done with helicopter work, continued line, securing line on division, whatever. 1930, wheels rolling back to ICP. 2030, back at ICP, whatever. Does that make sense? Not too crazy. Gonna hand you out. Want to do one to everybody?
No, we'll skip that one, unless you want to.
Just on the CTRs,
If you want to go.
so again, it's gonna show the crew name at the top of the CTR. That's Brush 10, East Fork Brush 10. Officer responsible, what's that number? That doesn't mean Santos. Officer responsible for fire.
Is that the ID?
IDs, SCF.
SCF.
Yep, that's who responsible is that number. Fire name, whatever.
Rapid foot.
Crew number. So if you go out on a brush truck, you'll get an E number. That's what goes in that spot. Your E140, that's how you were ordered for the incident. So you're the 140th engine or piece of equipment ordered for that specific incident. So that's the crew number. The fire number is what? The
P number.
The P number, right. So that goes there. List all your guys assigned to your brush truck or engine or whatever you're on. You don't necessarily have to put in what they are, but the date, what time you came on shift, 0600. So everybody wants to get their 16-hour day, right? Right, Tom?
Yes, sir.
That's how you make the money.
Yes, sir.
But most teams will tell you they want a half-hour break for lunch. So at 8 hours. So, and the other thing they'll hammer you on, or your division, which will get on you guys, is consistent start times. So it's always 0600. Even if you were up at 5 to shower and eat, your start time is 06 when you go to briefing. Work 8 hours, half-hour break, then you start up again. You can put multiple days on CTR. So you just drop down, put another date, and then put the times. They'll accept that if you're running short with it. But you can always get more of these where. No.
Who pays bills?
Who pays the bills? Remarks, so that would be in Brush 14 assigned division Bravo. For us, it doesn't matter. This is where the feds would put in hazard pay, night differential, all those things. But for us, it doesn't matter. But it's just a document that says we were assigned to division Bravo.
That brings up a point on times when you're in fire camp. You don't have to tell anyone, and I suggest we don't tell anyone that we get paid for a report.
Yes.
Because the feds do not, and they do not appreciate it when they see us getting paid every minute we're gone. Okay? So it doesn't matter if we get 8 hours on your timesheet or 24 hours. We get paid 24 hours. They just adjust the hourly rate. So if they say, okay, you're getting 12, so cool, thanks, that's awesome, I love it, thank you. You're getting 8, I love that too, that's good. It doesn't matter. Okay? Just you don't need to spread the word, hey man, it's cool, we get all this money. That doesn't go over well whatsoever. Okay?
And your CTR won't reflect.
And it won't. Yeah. So you're just gonna write the hours you're assigned, everything's hunky-dory, and you're gonna get your big fat check when you get home. So,
Very good point, Mike.
yeah.
I always say I'm just paid by the hour.
Yeah.
And they'll, people will ask you because
Yeah.
they see you in something big and red.
Yeah.
So you pour a report? No, I'm just paid by the hour.
Yeah. Which is true. We are paid.
I'm not lying.
Right. Right.
Right? Yeah. It's just everyone the whole time.
So it's a big deal.
Everyone.
It's a big deal because when I was with the feds, I ran across it. You know, it's like, fuck, these guys are making some bank here. But hey, make choices. So there you go. So it's just something to be very, very cognizant of when you're in fire camp and you don't know who you're talking to. It could be IC. It could be anybody. Or it could be a person, citizen in public, a homeowner. And they're, well, if I'm paying you all this money, why should you do all this work? So it's just, I don't know, just kind of a thought is just, I get paid by the government. So you don't have to go on and say, they bump me up because I don't make it. You get paid by the government.
Yeah, just be careful what you tell the public.
Yeah.
You go to fires in Idaho, they're not real impressed with any governmental agency, period, whether you're fire, police, whatever. So they want to know why they see 500 fire trucks around and they haven't seen smoke in 3 days. So they think it's big government waste, taxpayer dollars. It's just a different world, so just be careful what you tell the public and how you talk to the public, but especially in the Idahos of the world, or the Montanas of the world, so it's a different world. California, you can burn down 1,600 homes and they still think you're a hero. Not so much in Idaho. Different worlds.
Any questions about the CTRs? Any other thoughts or ideas? It's a good group.
Yeah, just one thing to remember too, that you'll see on the big fires on the RIM teams, that a lot of new guys may not have heard about. But, get to know the RIM guys. I mean, it's cool to learn their equipment sometimes. If you have time to look at it, if you're restricting, or let you, you're a single resource. They brought us over because we had tech rescue and they were gonna utilize us if they had an issue. But they carry some pretty cool equipment that it's nice to become familiar with if you get an issue with the RIM guys.
Can I tell them what the RIM stands for?
RIM stands for Remote Access Medical Team, and their sole job is to come in and protect us. So we get injured on the side of the hill, roll a vehicle down the hill, their job is to go in and get us. Their job is strictly there for the firefighters and for our protection, and help us up there like the Wildland RIM team.
They're a Wildland RIM.
And they come fully prepared with everything they need. It's pretty cool.
Except most of them are not ALS.
Yeah, that's why they're
changing that standard.
And that's why on this particular one, they utilize us because we were tech rescue and we had ALS with us. So.
Sounds like they're changing that in their standard.
Cool.
Have to have at least one paramedic.
Yeah, these guys are up, I want to say from LA. So.
Yeah, Boise Fire is gonna have one this year, maybe two, they might be able to stand with two. They're rapid extrication officers. Rapid extrication.
So you can go take that class just like you can rope rescue.
It would be on your red card, yeah.
Yeah, there's a.
But you're ordered as a module, so like East Fork, I know some guys have talked about it. We would send out 4 guys with a pickup, a UTV, and everything to do high and low rescue.
So you can't do like one thing from this department?
Yeah, there's a team ordered as a model.
Gotcha.
It's pretty cool stuff.
So can I have 2 minutes real quick?
Please.
A couple things I was going through with my crew yesterday. We actually had some time because of calls. Is on your smartphones. These things are the greatest thing for, since greatest, yeah, since not having them. I tell you what, you can put so much shit on these and a lot of stuff for your safety. So on your home screens, if you have an Apple phone, iPhone, I just labeled it fire, and you can put everything from WUI stuff in there to, they have a Wildland app that actually has your IRPG in it and all sorts of other stuff, incident command stuff, fire behavior checklist. One of the most important though is I drug my compass over into that fire home screen deal. And this could be for your safety, not only if somebody's injured on the line, but you don't even need Wi-Fi or anything or service to be able to get that. So if you guys are in a situation where you're deploying shelters or burned over and you need air support or support, you guys can quickly access exactly where you are by simply pulling up your compass. So it's a good safety deal. I have the Avenza maps in mine, the GAC, NC Web, radar and lightning casts in there, whatever you guys think you need, but they're good things to have. Get a chest pack or however you carry your stuff around that accommodates an iPhone or a phone, so you guys have it handy at all times. But pretty good resources now that we have, so anyways, whatever it looks like.
Yeah, there's a lot of mountain like I said, mine
There's a
has
ton of shit in there.
The Peaks IR is another one where you can actually point your phone at any peak around us and it'll give you that mountain peak, that range, and how far it is from you. So those are just kind of good stuff to have out in the field.
I got 2 of them, Peaks USA, and one's called World Peaks, and the other one's Peaks USA is the 2 I use. So you go to the